Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Lisa Twilley. I'm the director of the Women's Business Center here at MCE, Maryland Capital Enterprises. Just to give you a little information about us, we are a nonprofit based here in Salisbury, but we cover all the Eastern Shore of Maryland, Baltimore City, Baltimore County, and Anne Arundel County. We provide free services to aspiring entrepreneurs, or if they're already in business and trying to expand. We do business consulting, marketing consulting, training classes such as this. We also do micro and small business loans. Just to give you some information, we do have an annual Women's Business Conference coming up March 11th from 9 to 1. It's a virtual conference. We'll have keynote speaker, we'll have a panel, we have different door prizes throughout that time. So hopefully you can join us. It is free this year. And just to let you know, on Monday, we have a QuickBooks class from 12 to 2, and that is QuickBooks Desktop versus QuickBooks Online. So on our website, which I put in the chat, we have lots of other classes coming up as well. So hopefully you guys can join us. Everything is free right now, so take advantage of that. And if you need assistance from me, please reach out to me. I put my email in the chat. And I'm going to let Sophia Smacker, who is she's an independent marketing consultant, and she does a lot of training classes for us in reference to marketing, advertising, Facebook, all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to let her take over. Thanks, Sophia.
Thank you, Lisa. All right. I was just adding a couple of my classes to the end of my slides so I can share with everybody. Hi, everyone. Like Lisa mentioned, my name is Sophia Smacker. I'm an independent marketing consultant. Been working with Maryland Capital Enterprises and the Women's Business Center for quite some time now, teaching classes once upon a time in person, now virtually, which I enjoy because I'm at you from my living room. It's great. But today we're going to talk about what good advertising looks like. And this is meant to be like pretty interactive, but I know we've got like two ladies in the call. Like someone mentioned, they're like listening in while at work. So if you can chime in, cool. If not, that's okay. I will kind of lead the conversation and we'll kind of go from there. But what I'm going to do is share my screen here. Give me 1 second because I got a couple monitors. It's always like tricky. Share screen, current slide. And then I want you guys to see the full one, not the note. So does this look right?
Yes, that's great.
You're seeing just not the notes, right? Okay.
Correct.
Yes. I guess I got two monitors. All right. So let's talk about what good advertising looks like. So whether you are a business owner, entrepreneur, nonprofit, organizer, marketer, whatever, I think we all need to know what good advertising looks like and how we're able to reach consumers. So the agenda today. So we are going to talk about what does good advertising do? So how exactly are we able to utilize advertising to our benefit? So, like I said, whether you are a business owner, marketer, nonprofit representative, advertising can definitely benefit you. So we'll talk about the things that good advertising does to benefit you. And then we'll talk a little bit about the creative strategy. So really what the process is of creating that good advertising and how we create that through a creative strategy and that process. And then lastly, we'll kind of get into the fun of it and we'll talk about advertising examples. So we'll kind of deep dive. This is where the interactive part comes in. We'll talk about, some of these different advertising, what makes it good, and then kind of analyze them so that you all can become experts at identifying what good advertising looks like, and then being able to translate that into making good advertising and creative pieces for your business or organization. All right, so what exactly does good advertising do? So I've kind of broken this down into 5 of the main topics of, what I foresee kind of what good advertising can do for a business, organization, individual, etc. So number one, when we talk about good advertising or advertising in general, we are talking about any kind of form of, marketing where you are advertising like a product or service. So we're talking about billboards, we're talking about TV commercials, we're talking about social media, advertising. So things that you are paying for. And a lot of times these are creative pieces of content, whether it be a poster that is like an image that you're kind of turning into a print ad, or it's a radio commercial that you're kind of having to shorten to 30 seconds. That is what we're kind of talking about when we're talking about advertising. So what exactly does good advertising do? Well, first off, good advertising can really boost brand awareness. So, whether you are a business or, individual that is new, or you're very kind of well known in your area, well known regionally, nationally, wherever you're selling your product or service. If you are new, well known, kind of regardless, this can really help you boost, awareness of your brand and get your brand out to even more individuals. So, good advertising can do that in a lot of different ways. And it can kind of, overall like boost that awareness of people thinking about your product or service. And when we talk about brand awareness, it's not always something that's immediate. It's not people looking for, okay, I might be searching online for a certain product. It can be somebody seeing your ad and then thinking of you later on down the line when they think about needing that product or service. So, one client from the summit I've been working with recently, she owns a like, home healthcare company. So connecting nurses with folks that need home health care for their loved ones. So not something that you kind of think of, all the time, or not like an immediate need, but it's something that you think about when it comes up. So, boosting brand awareness in that way. So people are, knowledgeable and know about your brand and kind of think about you when that time comes. Good advertising can also attract new customers. So, like I said, whether you are a brand new business or you've been in business for a long time, customers are our livelihood, right? So, good advertising can really help attract new customers because you are connecting them with a product or service that they need. So, very similar to kind of boosting brand awareness and making people aware of your brand. It's also helping you attract new people that may not be familiar with your brand or your business. And then third, communicate your message. So we'll kind of go through different advertising examples, but good advertising really communicates the message that you're trying to get out there. What is your elevator pitch or your tagline for your business? What are you trying to say? So good advertisements and good advertising in general really helps you to communicate that message succinctly. So you are able to kind of attract those new customers to boost brand awareness. And that's really what good advertising does. It communicates a very clear message. And then fourth, evoking emotion. So, let's, think back to like a time where you've seen a TV commercial, or you've seen a billboard, or heard a funny radio commercial, when you're driving down the road. A good advertisement, a lot of times will evoke some sort of emotion in you. It's a little bit tough with some industries that are not as like emotional driven, right? So like, I think about the insurance company commercials, how they try so hard to evoke emotion out of people, and that's why we have people like Jake from like State Farm trying to like make us laugh and try to have us connect with them and identify them and be an asset, a brand asset So it's all, so sometimes it's a little bit tough depending on what your industry and your business is, but good advertising can really kind of evoke that emotion in a potential customer. And then lastly, good advertising is really going to help you keep up with your competitors. So whether it be direct competitors that you have that are, selling your same products and service, or if they are indirect competitors, somebody that is fulfilling a need that your customers have, they're most likely doing some sort of advertising. But good advertising for you can really help kind of cut through that noise and keep up with those competitors and reach your audience in a way that your competitor is not reaching them. All right, and then we'll talk a little bit about a creative strategy. So for your advertising, depending on, if it's a radio commercial, a billboard, a print ad, a social advertisement, no matter what it is, you need some sort of creative strategy, because this is a piece of creative that is going out in the world that is representing your brand and your business. So, why exactly do you need that creative strategy? Number one, it's an intentional approach to implement steps that are really going to ensure your business growth. So a lot of times people will, see something that they like to emulate, and they're like, oh, I really like flowers, so I think flowers would be really great on this like advertisement. Um, and they're not really necessarily thinking about their kind of overall brand, and what they want their brand to represent. And additionally, they're not kind of thinking about, why this kind of creative strategy and how this creative strategy is going to help them ensure business growth. So, what is your branding doing to help, build your business? And then what are the advertisement, placements that you're doing, and how are they kind of helping you ensure that like business growth? And then a creative strategy also provides guiding principles to your creative developers. So whether you are the one that is creating the print advertisement that you're putting in the local newspaper, or a social ad that you're going to put up on Facebook, or you're hiring somebody to do that, whether it be a freelancer or working with somebody else on your team or working with an agency, having a creative strategy is really going to kind of help provide those like guiding principles to your creative developer of, this is exactly what I'm looking for. This is the look and feel. This is the message I'm trying to convey. This is the emotion I'm trying to evoke. So being able to communicate that to the developer, so that they know how to, create an asset for you that is going to be, beneficial in helping you ladder up to whatever your goals are. And then same thing as well. So this will be kind of your roadmap for figuring out, what exactly am I trying to convey and communicate when I think about my advertising. And then always, 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 your creative strategy should really ladder up to your overall marketing strategy. So all of your branding should look consistent. All of your messaging should look consistent, and knowing exactly where where you are placing these creative pieces. So next we'll talk about the creative strategy and the process. So, we talked about why it's important to have good advertising, why it's important to have a creative strategy. So let's talk a little bit about the process. So we'll kind of go into each of these 4 steps. First step is creating campaign objectives. So the specific goals that you want to have for your creative campaign. How to define your audience. So who you're reaching. Identifying creative guidelines for your advertising, and then how you're going to kind of develop that campaign concept. And I just want to say, when we talk about campaign here, we're talking about any sort of piece of advertising. So, a lot of in kind of marketing terms, we talk about campaign in the way that like large businesses and advertising agencies do. So if you think about a new, brand new hotel opening up in like a metropolitan area, they are creating a whole kind of campaign for that, right? So they're creating radio commercials, TV commercials, print ads, events, with different event assets and promotional materials. So sometimes, your campaigns are going to be very small. They may just be one advertising element, or one asset. So maybe one print ad, one radio commercial, one TV commercial, or they can be a whole kind of line of things. So for example, if you have a new product you're releasing and for example, you want to have a radio commercial, you want to have a print ad, you want to do social media advertisements. So that can be kind of like a smaller campaign. But when we talk about campaigns, think about it in the way that makes sense for your business and your budget. It can be just one piece of advertising, or it can be like a full-blown campaign. So the first step is building your creative objectives. So, what exactly do you want to do with this campaign or this advertisement, this asset, whatever it is that you're creating? So thinking about, what are your goals and kind of outlining those. So it's always important to know, this is where I'm trying to go to, as you start kind of developing what these assets look like. So what exactly are you trying to do? Like, what's the goal? What's the objective? So are you trying to introduce your brand? Are you trying to tell a story? Are you trying to position a product? Are you trying to communicate a service? So for example, if you are a restaurant and you are just starting to offer to go, which is, if you are a restaurant in a pandemic, you probably already were offering to go because you weren't open. But that is going to be, your main campaign objective or your main creative objective of like what you are trying to do. You're trying to communicate that brand new service. It can be something as, telling a story. It can be, more so of, you're trying to get your potential customers and your current customers to really kind of understand your employees. So there's a local construction company in Salisbury, Delmarva Veteran Builders. They have a really cool campaign that they've been doing for quite some time, and some different advertising pieces that tell the story of who their employees and coworkers are. So they are all, it's a veteran-owned company. They are all veterans, a lot of the majority of their workforce. So their campaign is kind of the approach of telling that story of, this is so and so. They started off in the Air Force. Then they went here. These are the skill set they have, and then now they're here at our company doing this. So kind of telling those stories, and what that really does is that kind of puts a face, more of a face to your company. It humanizes it, and also like we said before, with good advertising, it kind of evokes an emotion. Or we think about, just introducing your brand. So if this is a brand new business you have, how are you going to introduce it? How, like telling somebody, hey, we are here, we are out there. This is kind of what we're doing. So that's your first objective is, what exactly am I trying to do as I am, building out these creative assets, these advertisement pieces, these campaigns. And next off is defining your audience. So this is very, similar to if you were to create a marketing plan. If you have a marketing plan or a business plan for your business, this is, really marketing 101 is like defining your audience. So who exactly are you trying to reach? And this should really ladder up to, what your target audience is for your business as a whole. So your advertising audience should be the same as, your target market and audience for your entire business. So who are they? So demographics, age, gender, occupation, income, family status, education, things like that. Geographics. So, is it, local? Are you trying to reach people regionally, nationally, internationally, worldwide? Psychographics, which is, interests, values, opinions, things like that. And then, kind of more like the lifestyle, and then behavioral. So that is, how often are people going to be purchasing your products and services? So, are you a luxury product where maybe people would only purchase you once or twice a year, or you are, a more frequent product where, or service where somebody would be able to be very, very loyal and kind of a multi, purchase. So thinking about in terms of like defining your audience. So for example, one kind of audience profile, like think of off the top of my head is, maybe a mom that's very health conscious, right? So, what is the demographic? So, age range, maybe they're between 35 to like 45. They are female. They have a certain, occupation. They have a certain income level. They're married. They have a certain education level. Geographics, maybe you're trying to reach them locally because that's where you sell your product. Maybe you have like a healthcare product that you're trying to sell. Psychographics, so that's where we talk about interest based. So what are their opinions, values, lifestyle? So if we think about kind of health conscious moms, we know that moms are super busy. So, wanting to be able to reach moms that want something very convenient, on the go, quick, healthy, and then behavioral, if you are selling something like a protein, powder or something like that targeted at these, health conscious moms, how often are they purchasing? Are you selling, big containers of this product that they'll be purchasing, every so often, or is it smaller packets that they can purchase more frequently? But moral of the story is really kind of defining your audience to understand who exactly they are and who you're trying to reach. And then thinking about in that way, so when we think about good advertising, we want to think about advertising that really stops somebody and makes them think. And the great question to always kind of ask is, what does your audience currently do and think? So, what types of products and services do they prefer? What are the occasions that they use products and service? Purchase frequency, behavior, competitor buying. So if we take that profile of that health conscious mom, we are, what types and products do they prefer? So they're preferring products that are, health conscious. So things that are, great for their mental, physical well-being. So, protein shakes, workout equipment, things like that. And then the occasions that they're using your products and services. So we talked about a lot of times moms are super busy. So, using these products and services on like a, very, very quick basis of being able to use it kind of on the go. Purchasing frequency and behavior, how often are they purchasing? And then competitor buying. So, what other competitors kind of are they purchasing from in the area? So thinking about, what does your audience currently do? Next up is, what would you like your audience to do and to think? And that's where we think about, how good advertising can work. So good advertising can really affect your potential customer in the sense of, they are thinking and acting a certain way, and you're able to kind of get them to think and act in a way that, fits your product or service. So, and going back, thinking about that, that healthy mom profile. So, what do they currently think or do? So, maybe they currently think that, hey, I really need something that's going to be simple and easy for me to stay healthy while I'm on the go. I need like a really quick product where I'm able to get some energy while I'm running my kids off to school. So that's what they currently think. So after seeing your advertisement, what would you like them to think? And that's where you think about your positioning in the market. You think about your differentiating factor. So how are you positioning your products and services to be able to fit their need? So they want a product that is going to be able to fulfill them, quickly and, in a healthy, kind of convenient way. So positioning your creative and your advertising in a way that you are able to fulfill that need for them. And additionally, you're kind of thinking about your competitors. So what can you do that's different than all of your competitors? And that is what your differentiating factor is. So big question to think, and this kind of transcends beyond advertising is, thinking about what does my audience currently think? What do I want them to think after seeing my marketing, learning about me, seeing my advertising? And then the next one for your campaign, your creative advertising development is thinking about deliverables and specs. So, what type of creative are you trying to develop? Is it a radio ad, print ad, social media? Are you trying to create a direct mail piece, a billboard? What are the dimensions? Because those are all very different depending on, what you are looking to do. So print ads can be anywhere from a full size page to a quarter page to horizontal to vertical. And then digital ads, so many opportunities and options. And then where exactly is this creative going to be used, and is it going to have multiple uses? So a lot of times designers want to know, where are you using this, and how often are you going to be using this, and in what formats? Because the different specs that they have. So a half page print ad is not going to work as a full page print ad. It's not going to work as a digital banner ad. So thinking about all of those things. And then campaign concept. So this is where we think about the developing, for either yourself, the advertising creator, talking with a briefing a coworker that's a graphic designer, any of that. So kind of showing them, this is the campaign concept. This is what I'm trying to achieve. So, the first step, which what we talked about is, the objective. This is what I'm trying to reach. This is my goal with this piece of creative. This is who I'm trying to reach. This is my target audience. And then this is what my audience currently thinks. This is what I want them to think. And then lastly, getting to your campaign concept. So being able to provide the designer with creative direction. So, what kind of, things are you providing that are like details for them, helping you develop this asset? So really kind of start with what So your goal, your audience, what you want them to think, what they currently think. What kind of copy do you want to include on this ad? So if it is if it's a brand awareness ad, are you including your tagline? If you're trying to introduce a product and service, what are you trying to say about that product and service? So including your copy, including your call to action. So what exactly do you want somebody to be able to do? Do you want them to go to a website, to call you, to book a hotel, book a reservation, any of those things? The setting we talked a little bit about. So, where exactly is this creative asset going to be placed? Color scheme. So this should really be in line with your branding. So what are the colors? What kind of emotions do you want to invoke? And then font type. So along with your branding as well, what kind of fonts do you want to, include this, is it large scale? Is it small scale? So, we think about main and primary copy. We think about secondary copy. What are those fonts? And then along with the color scheme, what is that color scheme? So, having all of those will really kind of help you develop kind of what that overall kind of campaign looks like. So we're going to transition in a minute into advertising examples, and we can talk about, why some of this advertising looks great, some that have opportunities, and then we'll kind of analyze the different examples that I have, and kind of go through this creative strategy process to try to kind of like dissect how these marketers got to the place they did with these ads. But I'm going to stop there. See, does anybody have any questions so far before we jump into the interactive portion? And feel free to unmute yourself. Anything in the chat?
I don't see anything in the chat, but feel free to unmute yourself, guys. We're very informal, small group tonight.
I have a question. Will the slide be available?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll send this over to Lisa after this, and then she will send these out too.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry guys, Lisa and I are like, we both talked about it earlier. We're both dealing with like headaches with the weather changing. Ooh. So I'm like super dry. I'm sure you guys can hear it in my voice. I'm powering through. All right. So let's have the fun part and talk about advertising examples. Okay. So if you were on any other calls with me, this may look a little familiar. So we've done on a couple other creative strategy calls, we've kind of like dissected different advertisements to talk about, what are these different kind of concepts, the guidelines, audience definition, and things like that. So we're going to kind of go through the 4-step process. So the process of campaign objectives, audience definition, creative guidelines, campaign concepts. So we'll kind of work backwards, and I'm going to kind of go through the first one to kind of guess what I think and how I'm kind of matching up and identifying, what these campaign objectives are, what the audience definition is. So this kind of first exercise, and then we'll kind of have the rest be a little bit more interactive if folks want to jump in. So this is a print ad that I saw in a local magazine for Seaside Smiles. So located in Salisbury, obviously they are a dentist. So we're going to kind of analyze and like identify and talk about these 4 different steps for this print advertisement. So campaign objective, right? So we talked about campaign objective being, what do you want to, what's the goal? What's the objective for this piece of creative? So that was like the first step. And we're thinking about creating an advertisement is the campaign objective. So what are we trying to achieve? So for this one, what I would say in looking at this, the campaign objective is being able to communicate that Seaside Smiles has Invisalign, and they are a great spot for teenagers looking to get dentistry and Invisalign services. I think that's pretty clear here. I feel like that's what the main objective would be. So as far as the audience definition goes, so if we go back to the thinking about what that audience definition slide looks like and, identifying the audience, we think about things as far as demographics, geographics, psychographics, behavioral. So what I can tell from these ads, I'm going to kind of like dissect of like, what I think. So demographics. So I would say this ad is a little deceiving. So knowing that this ad is placed in Metropolitan Magazine, which is Mostly read by folks that I think are a little, higher income based. It's a very like glossy magazine. I I don't think you have to pay for it, but it's definitely kind of like the who's who of like the Eastern Shore. I know that this magazine is not for teenagers. This is read by adults. And if we think about who is actually purchasing the dentistry services for their teenagers, it is the parents. So what I would say as far as demographics goes, this ad is very geared towards the parent. So I would say it's probably most likely geared towards the mom, because moms are the ones a lot of times making those like financial decisions in the household. And then I would say as far as, family status, it could be single mom, married mom, but nevertheless a mom, with a teenager that is ready for the next step in their dental journey by straightening their teeth. Occupation, income level. So I would say in knowing about Invisalign is a little bit more expensive. I think they're trying to get in pretty much anybody they can, who's reading this article, by giving them a free Invisalign evaluation, which it says here. But I do know that Metropolitan, like I said, is a little bit of a magazine where it's a little like higher income, level, audience. So that's kind of who I think they're kind of targeting is, family members, moms that, have a little bit, money saved up, or they're able to purchase Invisalign and kind of pay that higher cost than regular braces for their child. Geographics. So they're really trying to reach folks that are located in the Delmarva area. So you'll see here that they have the Salisbury and they have the Berlin office. Psychographics. So that's where we think about interests, values, opinions, attitudes, lifestyle, things like that. We know that this is a parent that is making a decision for, their child, and they are, really, this is a very, a purchase that isn't made very, very frequently. And it's a purchase that's very, well thought out. So including in here things like, Diamond Invisalign provider, and the doctor, a board certified orthodontist, things like that. That is kind of like invoking that like emotion, or making the audience, recognize that, the parent is really kind of making like a long-term decision and a more high investment decision for their child. And then behavioral. So this is, a one-time, purchase, unless they have multiple children. Creative guidelines. So this is where we think about the specs. We think about where this is placed. So this is a print ad. Obviously, it is probably a quarter-page ad in a high glossy magazine. So we know that this needs to be something where nobody can click on this to get in more information. It's not like a digital ad. So it has to have all of the information here that is able for people to see and write down: phone number, website, and all of that. And then it is a high glossy ad, so colors that are popping, high resolution photos, and all of that. And then as far as the campaign concepts, I think we talked a lot about this. So they have their tagline in here: making dentistry fun is what we do. Obviously, you can tell that the bright colors are part of their branding, with their logo included here, and all of those other elements that makes that super important. So that's my analysis of this ad. Does anybody have any thoughts or other things to add that kind of jump out at them as we're looking at this first one? And, this is a good one to think about, what does the audience currently think and what do I want them to think? So, most likely the audience is currently thinking, is the parent. They're thinking, oh gosh, I need to make this, high cost investment for my child, my teenager. This is going to be a process and it's not a fun process going to the dentist. So, that's what they currently think. What do we want them to think? So if I'm Seaside Smiles, what I want them to think is dentistry is fun, right? So bright smiles, making dentistry fun is what we do. So that's a really big part of why this is a good advertisement. It is, they obviously analyzed and thought about, what their audience currently thinks, and they were able to fill the space of what Seaside Smiles wants them to think after seeing the ad. So we'll look at the next one here. So this is for Bank of Delmarva. This was another print ad that I pulled from a local magazine. So what do we think as far as campaign objectives? So what do we think that the goal is of this ad? Anybody want to jump in?
I guess to buy a house.
Exactly. If you can dream it, you can do it. So this is for buying a house, most likely, a housing loan, I would assume. A little vague here, I think. So, obviously it's not like this isn't a mortgage company, so I imagine this is a loan, but, I think it could be a little bit clearer. So audience definition. So who do we think that we're trying to reach? Think about demographics. We think about geographics, psychographics, behavioral. Who do you all think that we're trying to reach with this ad, taking a look at it? Anybody?
I guess
Parents with
families looking
children.
to.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Think trying to reach families. So Kristen said young families. Yep, exactly. So this is a young mom and dad trying to, buying a house for their beautiful daughter here. And I imagine that this is probably a local play. Bank of Delmarva obviously is a Delmarva bank on Delmarva with a lot of different branches. And they're, this, when we think about behavioral, this is, a very, big long-term investment. Like we think about dentistry, but even bigger. So they're really trying to reach people that, this is, they're thinking about making this long-term purchase. As far as creative guidelines, what I see here, obviously this is a print ad. So again, needs to be clear as far as the website, the phone number. I know a lot of ads, if you think about financial, if you think about medical, they need to have certain elements and graphics on the ad. So member FDIC is on there. They also have a best. So it looks like Newsweek best. In my opinion, that like logo is a little bit too small. But making sure this is a high, resolution kind of glossy. I actually think that the tagline is all the way at the bottom on the left-hand side, and it's kind of buried in with the rest of the text. So I think that could probably be somewhere else. I think that their logo is also the same size as all the rest of the text, and it's not really kind of, reaching out. And then to me, I think the family photo is nice, but it's also taking up the majority of the advertisement. So, making some of those other elements like a little bit bigger would be my opinion. And then campaign concepts. So let me ask, what do we think that the audience currently thinks? And what do you all think that Bank of Delmarva would like them to think? So if I am a first-time home buyer what do I currently think? And then what does Bank of Delmarva want me to think after seeing this ad?
I guess to come and get a loan because they want you to purchase a house.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's like with their tagline here, if you can dream it, you can do it. So, exactly, Kristen said, it is possible to buy a house. So if you can dream it, if it's something that you're thinking about it, Bank of Delmarva really wants to make it possible for you. So making sure that that message is conveyed. In addition to this ad, I'll say one other thing is I feel like the call to action is not as clear. I don't know if you all feel the same way. It is implied to come in, maybe, see us for like a bank loan. But there's nothing here that says that. So, maybe that is something that would be a little bit more helpful and resonate for the audience. I can kind of look at it both ways, but just something to point out as we're thinking about the campaign concept. Anybody else have any other thoughts on this one? All right.
Well, talking about the effectiveness of that advertisement,
Yeah.
I wouldn't go to the bank to ask for a loan. So I don't know if they thought about that, but it is not being effective. I don't like it, and it is not calling my attention as a customer or potential customer.
So I would, what's your opinion? Why would you not go there?
Yeah, because like you said, there is not a call of action. You have to it is kind of obvious because it's implied, but there's not a clear message. And I don't know, it's just something that one of those, brochures or flyers that you find and then you just throw away.
Yeah. Does anyone else feel the same way? I think I do. I mean, yeah, Kristen said, I don't think I would look at it. So nothing, to me, that's really kind of calling my name. I know that financial advertisements are hard in general. But yeah, I agree. I think what we're missing here is a very clear kind of call to action. All right.
I agree. And it is hard to be creative with financial advertisements, like you said.
Yeah.
Being a former banker.
Yeah. And we love Bank of Delmarva. We're just analyzing their ad.
That's right.
But all right, so we'll talk about a large company that hopefully no one here knows anybody that like works in marketing at McDonald's. But so shifting away from print ads, let's look at billboard. So what do we think the campaign objective is here? Hotter, juicier, the Texas way.
You're just making me hungry right now.
What do you think? What are they trying to do with this? Maybe sell some quarter pounders? Make you hungry. Exactly. Sell burgers. Cool. So audience definition. So this is one that's really interesting. So billboards, a lot of times it is tough to be able to reach specific audiences because billboards are everywhere. So we can't necessarily target specific demographics, age, gender, income levels, things like that with billboards, because they are just, that blanket kind of brand awareness that people, are driving by. So billboards are great for if you have a message that you're trying to get out to everybody, right? So like you are like the Walmart of your company, you want everybody to come in. So I really see, some of these large companies like McDonald's, billboards being really effective. What I would say, the one thing here that I see is that they personalize this to make it, or customize it to make it local. So I see a lot of brands doing this as far as billboards go. So hotter, juicier, the Texas way. So they're trying to really kind of like localize themselves. So obviously this billboard's in Texas. So, they are speaking directly to the Texas audience, which I find, interesting. Creative guidelines for this one. I love that the burger is kind of like popping out. I think it makes it, look a lot more like impactful. And it's interesting, McDonald's really has been able to create a brand identity where those yellow arches, they don't need to be that big. People will see it and they will know. And if you put a Wendy's burger and a McDonald's burger next to each other, or any other restaurant burger, you may not know. I think maybe everybody knows that McDonald's just looks different, but I think that the golden arches really kind of differentiates it. And then, what do they currently think? What do we want them to think? So any thoughts there of what maybe the audience, somebody driving by currently thinks, and then what it seems like McDonald's wants them to think after seeing this? So I would say for me, it's not super large, but fresh beef, cooked when you order. So it's a very, kind of smaller message here, a secondary message, but it is, I think what they're trying to achieve here is that, the audience may currently think that, a McDonald's burger, they're kind of just popping them out very, very quick, whatever. But they want their audience seeing this to know it's fresh. You can, it's cooked to order. Because Kristen said, burger is better than everybody else. So does this make you guys want a burger? Yes or no? Let me know.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I do. As soon as I saw it, I'm like, she's killing me right now.
I know we're running out of time. We'll go through one more.
Okay.
And then I will wrap up. But Lisa, do you know if I can share like music? Can you guys hear this? If I were to share this, can you hear this?
Can't hear it.
No.
Can't hear it? Okay.
Mm-mm.
So is everybody familiar with the Wild Thing song? Wild Thing, you make my heart sing.
Yeah.
You guys know that? Okay. All right. So you don't need the music here, but so this is a commercial I saw recently for Airbnb. I'm gonna start this over. So Airbnb commercials are my favorite right now. I don't know if you guys have seen any that you like recently. But all right, so after seeing that, what is the campaign objective? Somebody shout it out. What are we trying to achieve with that commercial? Pet owners welcome. Exactly. So we've got two ladies bringing their cat. Airbnb wants people to know that there are Airbnbs that are pet friendly, which I actually didn't even know before. So audience definition, obviously we're trying to reach pet owners, cat lovers, people that want to travel with their pet and it's important to them. Airbnb is national, international, trying to reach an international crowd. It's also a TV commercial, so they're trying to reach a large audience. And then creative guidelines. Obviously, this is like that was a quick 30-second commercial. Campaign concept. So what do people currently think? What do we want them to think? What I previously thought, if we're seeing this, I didn't know Airbnb allowed people to have pets there. So what do we want them to think? We want them to know that they can come and stay at Airbnbs with their furry friends. So I think that was a fun one, and just a little bit different than the print ads and the billboards. So that was the last one I got. And then I just want to share some upcoming webinars Lisa and I were talking about earlier. So Wednesday, March 16th, from 5 to 6, I'm teaching using Instagram for your business. This will be kind of a very one-on-one if you're interested in learning about Instagram. And then Thursday, March 24th, I'm teaching the marketing portion of the Business and Marketing Plan 101 webinar with Tim Sherman from the SBDC, and that will be from 1 to 3 p.m.
That was awesome, Cynthia.
Yeah, leave us up for one more minute. Oop. And then I did put my personal email address in the chat at the top, and Lisa shared hers. If anybody ever has any questions or things that you like to see in future webinars, feel free to email me, email Lisa, and I'll share these slides with Lisa so she can share them all out with you as well.
Does anybody have any questions?
No.
Thank you
All
guys
right.
for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Yep, and I'll be sure to send the slides and reach out if you have any questions later or you need anything from me. Thank you,
good.
ladies.
Bye, guys.
Have a good night.